episode 414 of 360 Wrestling Fanatic. We'll be talking about tonight's episode of WWE NXT featuring the weaponized steel cage match, tonight's season premiere of Dark Side of the Ring, and talk some quick pro wrestling news right here, right now. 360 Wrestling Fanatic. Hey there, wrestling fanatics. Welcome to tonight's episode. Hope everyone had a great Tuesday today. Like I said in that little preview there, going to be talking about tonight's episode of NXT. Also tonight was the season premiere, season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring. Chris and Tammy. Also going to talk about a little bit of news going on in the world of pro wrestling. But let's get started with tonight's episode of WWE NXT. And tonight's episode actually started off with, like I said this morning on GMWF, what I thought was going to be the main event tonight, but instead was the opening match of this episode of NXT, and that was the weaponized steel cage match. Gigi Dolan and Jacy Jayne, the two former Toxic Attraction teammates, former tag team partners, who are now feuding in this rivalry. As I expected, there were actually some of the same weapons that I talked about this morning on GMWF that I expected to be in there. Garbage cans, garbage can lids, steel chairs, a table was in there. And to be honest with you, I thought this was a pretty good match. And like I said, I'm surprised that they didn't main event this week's episode with it. But I kind of understand why. But I still think it would have been better if they would have gave these two more of the spotlight and let them actually main event and close the show. Might have made the match seem more kind of a big deal if they did. But still, very good match between these two, I thought. Gigi Dolan defeating Jacy Jayne. And this kind of looks like could be the end of the feud. And the NXT North American Champion Wes Lee and Tyler Bate defeat the Dyad with Ava in their corner. And then a surprise here tonight. We see Mustafa Ali show up at the Performance Center and make the save for Wes Lee and Tyler Bate after Joe Gacy came in and attacked him. And I don't know if this is gonna be staying on regular Mustafa Ali on NXT after the loss to Gunther in the Intercontinental Championship match at Night of Champions Sunday, which I wouldn't really be too surprised if he does stay on NXT for now. He's not really doing much on the main roster. The positive Ali gimmick they've given him recently really has not worked too well. So maybe this could help Ali's career, just like recently Apollo Crews spent some time in NXT once again, and then in this most recent draft came back up to the main roster. So who knows? Making the save here tonight. And also Joe Coffey defeated Channing Stacks Renzo. Cora Jade defeated Ivy Nile. And in the main event, the NXT Championship match, Carmelo Hayes retained over Noam Dar. And then after the match, we see Baron Corbin also show up here tonight, making a return to NXT by attacking Carmelo Hayes. Could this be a title match now that we are heading into the Great American Bash? And like I said about Mustafa Ali earlier, he's another one, Baron Corbin that is, that hasn't really been doing a whole lot on the main roster lately, but they've been doing that losing streak gimmick and nothing goes his way, all this bad luck. And now he showed up here on NXT tonight. Like I said, him and Carmelo Hayes, that could be a future NXT championship match. So overall, that was tonight's episode of WWE NXT. Also, I forgot to mention this also had a Tiffany Stratton celebration after she won the NXT Women's Championship. And another thing I forgot to mention, I know I need to take better notes like I always say, but Reggie showed up randomly here tonight as Scripps, and maybe this was already revealed. Like I said, even though I do have NXT on every week, sometimes I lose focus because it's hard for me just to get interested in NXT. And like I talked about on Good Morning Wrestling Fans this morning, actually, it's NXT is probably the one wrestling show on TV now where it's, even though I'm watching it, it's just hard for me to get interested and pay attention to. But tonight, though, the opening match, the weaponized cage match, very good. Paid attention the whole match, was into it. But then the rest of the show, that's where I got lost and wasn't really into the rest of the show as much as I was into the cage match at the beginning between G.G. Dolan and J.C. Jane. But very good match between those two. But I did pay a little more attention during the main event. That was pretty good. And then Baron Corbin coming in. So that was tonight's NXT. And then following NXT on Vice was the season premiere, season 4 of Dark Side of the Ring. Tonight's episode was Chris and Tammy, Chris Candido and Tammy Lynn Stitch. And I thought this was a pretty good episode. I have heard quite a bit about Chris Candido's and Sonny's relationship over the years. It started off showing them in Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Well, actually, it started off showing Chris Candido when he first got started in the business, and then he started seeing Tammy, and then onto Smoky Mountain Wrestling with Jim Cornette, who was interviewed as he's been on many episodes of Dark Side of the Ring. And then, of course, when they entered WWF as the Body Donnas, Skip and Sonny, and also Dr. Tom Pritchard was interviewed for this. Of course, he was a part of the Body Donnas as well. Skip's brother Zip. And I thought this episode was pretty good. Also interviewed for this one is Lance Storm and Chris's brother Johnny Candido. And towards the end of the episode, they talk about when Chris Candido had a short run in TNA managing the Naturals and Wrestling 2. And when he broke his leg at Lockdown 2005 and the surgery he had after, they talk about how he took a flight and flew, which was probably too soon after the surgery, and then had a blood clot and unfortunately passed away. They showed some highlights of the Impact at the time, which was on Fox Sports Net. And also at the end, they talked about the problems that Sonny has had the last few years or so. I definitely recommend checking out this episode of Dark Side of the Ring if you haven't seen it yet. And next week will be about Magnum TA, which should also be a very good episode. It's one that I know I am looking forward to. So that was tonight's Season 4 premiere of Dark Side of the Ring. Let me know if you've seen it. Let me know what you thought in the comment section right here on Spreaker or whichever website, which app, podcatcher, whichever you listen to 360 Wrestling Fanatic on. Let me know in the comment section what you thought of tonight's episode, if you've seen it. Hopefully most people listening did watch it. Also, NXT 2, let me know what you thought of tonight's episode. And now to get some quick news in the world of pro wrestling. We have more baby news this week. This past Sunday at AEW Double or Nothing, we found out that Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello are having a baby. And then today, it was announced that WWE superstar Alexa Bliss is expecting a child that is due in December, I believe. Alexa and her husband, that is some singer. Ryan, I want to say his name is Ryan something. I know he's some kind of singer. I don't know if he's really famous or not, but I don't remember what his last name is, but they are having their first child as well. So, with the baby being due in December, we are not going to see Alexa Bliss back in the ring for the rest of this year anyway. But congratulations to Alexa Bliss and also Sammy Guevara and Ty Mello. Unfortunately, there is some bad news for Braun Strowman fans. including my nephew Bruiser Brody, who you see quite a bit on the 360 YouTube channel. Braun Strowman, who hasn't been seen on WWE television since April 21st, I believe, is out with an unspecified injury. Hopefully it's not too serious. Hopefully we will see the monster of all monsters, the monster among men, Braun Strowman, back in the ring on WWE TV soon. I don't think I talked about this yet on any of the podcasts for some reason, but also during Double or Nothing this past Sunday, AEW World Champion MJF was injured his forearm, which during the media scrum you could see that it was taped up. And also, Impact Wrestling has announced that Chris Sabin will be challenging the X Division champion Trey Miguel at Against All Odds. Speaking of Against All Odds, it was announced that the main event of that show, which will air on Impact Plus June 9th, I believe. Yes, June 9th, Impact Plus. And it will be the first ever 8-4-1 match. The rules for this match are it will start off as an 8-man tag. And then the winning team of this match will face off against each other in a 4-way match to determine the number one contender for the Impact Wrestling World Championship. And the two teams are here on the picture that Impact Wrestling has put out. Bully Ray, Jonathan Gresham, Heath, and Nick Aldis will be taking on the team of Moose, Speedball Mike Bailey, Rich Swann, and PCO. Which that should be a pretty wild match. Interesting to see which team will go over in this one and then have a match with each other in a 4-way. That does sound like a good match. And speaking of Against All Odds, we already know that the Impact World Championship will be on the line in the main event, as Steve Maclin will defend against Alex Shelley, which should be a very good match. Once again, that is Impact Wrestling Against All Odds, June 9th on Impact Plus, Fight TV, and YouTube for Ultimate Insiders. Also, we found out today that tomorrow night on AEW Dynamite, Tony Khan will have an announcement regarding the debut episode of AEW Saturday Collision for June 17th. Will definitely be interesting to see what this announcement's going to be. Is it a big, huge announcement? Is it just, I don't want to say nothing that's not important, but is it just kind of a little one? Who knows? We'll have to tune in tomorrow night on Dynamite. And of course, I will be previewing tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite on the Wednesday morning episode of GMWF, as always. But that is all for now of this episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic, episode 414. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, leave your thoughts on tonight's episode of NXT, on tonight's episode of Dark Side of the Ring. Congratulate Ty Mello and Sammy Guevara. Congratulate Alexa Bliss on the announcements of their children, I should say. And if you want to advertise here on 360 Wrestling Podcast, 360 Wrestling Fanatic, Good Morning Wrestling Fans, you can just email me at 360 Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. And don't worry, I'll try not to mess up like I just did in your ad read. I'll try my best to do a better job at talking. Hopefully we can work something out. 360 Wrestling Podcast at gmail.com. And until I talk to you all tomorrow, have a great night. And I am Lance, and I am a wrestling fanatic.